years. So 1 is 5 years. A 2 is 5 to 10 years.
A little bit, maybe.
A 3 is 10 to 15. And you get 4 whopping points if it's more than that. And we don't count, David, because we're not 15 technically yet. We're a 3. Nice, nice. Awesome. Hello, Liz and Nick.
Nick from Chattanooga. I think they were last minute people that were added. Okay. Well, Amanda, oh, here we go. So I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm Shannon Hamaker. Nice to meet you all. And I'm going to be sharing my screen here so we can show our little slideshow. And then I'll share while we're here. Amanda, do you just want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah. So I am the co-facilitator for Shannon, her wingman. My husband is the redhead that looks really angry right now, but he's not angry. I mean, I guess he's taking care of the kids, so he could be angry. Couple little housekeeping notes too is if you guys have questions, we want this to be interactive. We've already asked you where you're from and how long you've been married. Questions that you have, pop them in the chat. Shannon and I are going to tag team answering those questions. If it's something that's more in depth, please know that we want to support you in that question. So that's something that we can also support you with offline. We're going to, generally speaking, keep you guys muted for most of the time, just to kind of limit distractions. And yeah, we just are really, really excited that you're here, taking time out. There will be a recording sent after this call, so you'll be able to look back on some of the practices and tools that we're going to share. And so, yeah, Shannon, let's get started.
Awesome. Do you all see your screen? Do you see my screen? Do you see David and Amanda holding hands in the snow? Magic. Wonderful. Great. Okay. So we wanted to do this Thrive Through the Holidays Zoom webinar with you all because last year, Steve and I did it. Steve is my husband. He's on this separate, he's on here somewhere. He's waving, cute guy with the glasses and the beard. And we wanted to do this last year and it went over so well. And as a matter of fact, some of the people that were on that call are with us this year for a second time. And not only that, it was really cool to see how that set the tone for the entire year and to see how they have come so far in having these different connections and how the tools that you're going to learn are going to not only help you thrive through the holidays, but it could open up a door to a new place that you all can go with intention in your relationship to yourself and to your partner. So the reason why I wanted to do this is a very uncomfortable picture, even though you wouldn't know it. So the person who would see this picture, they might be like, oh, cute couple, like she's sitting in his lap. But I'm looking at your face right now, Steve. It was like the tipping point of like something has got to effing change. And it was one of those cases where we were just disconnected. We were kind of roommates. I was actively like, what's wrong with you? Please tell me, how can I help you? And the more I would do that, the more Steve would, and feel free to interject at any time, Steve. But the more I would do that, the more he was like, just leave me alone. Tell me what you need me to do around the house. I will do the things, but I don't have the capacity. I don't have the tools. We just didn't know how to communicate. So this Christmas in 2019, it was a mixture of like tears. I remember yelling at my mother-in-law saying, marriage is so hard. And she was like, I know it is. And I like stormed off to go for a hike. So it was the culmination of a lot of things. And I think the interesting part about the story is that we were heading into this season of the holidays already stretched thin. And I remember having this idea of like, oh, it's going to be so great to go to my in-laws and be able to just chill out so that we can reconnect. And it wasn't further from the truth. It was almost like we didn't know how to be. We didn't know how to be with each other. So some of the tools that we're going to talk about tonight we're part of that path of recommitting to our relationship. There are several twists and turns, and we have a couple of podcast episodes about the trajectory of our relationship. But honestly, the reason why I do this class is because I want you all to have the tools to be able to feel safe and to move through life with ease, and to be able to meet your partner where they're at with compassion and love wherever they are at. So I know that some of you had reached out and said, my partner isn't going to be able to join, whether it was because they were going to be watching the kids or because they had to work. And some of you are the person that is like, I am actively trying to heal and grow. And I know there's more. And to you, to all of you that are here, no matter where you're at, even if your partner isn't fully on board yet, I just want to like give you all props for being here, because you're already moving the needle towards something better. And, you know, we have Jennifer and Hal Strain on here, and Nicole and Mike have also been a big part of this group. Holly has done a lot of work with us, and just to see the paths that they have taken. Not everything has been perfect, but that's the point. It's like being prepared for when the shit hits the fan. You're like, oh, we got this here. I'll hold the umbrella. You do this. I got this. Not like, oh my gosh, everything is crazy. So Amanda, did you want to share a little bit about you and David's story and why you're here?
Yeah. So this was actually when Shannon and I's love story began as facilitators, as I saw her actively supporting couples. And I knew that at that point in my journey, I had done a lot of healing on my own. David had been witness to that, but I was that couple, or I was that part of the couple that was going first. I was that person that felt like that they were the hot mess, and I was the one that was just making a mess of everything. And I think that there's a component of David also feeling like, I can't help her, I can't do anything right, our communication is off. And so really, when we thought about our story, it spanned far beyond the holiday season. It was just chaos all the time. It was, getting ready for vacations, and it was, packing lunches, and it was parenting strategies, and how he felt about one thing and how I felt about another. And so we just found that, like, yes, we're honing in on the holiday season because, like Shannon just said, we're all already stretched thin a little bit, but also just giving permission that, like, this is the springboard for the rest of 2023 and to next year, for it to be different, for it to look different, for it to feel different, for you to show up in a completely different way. And so, yeah, I don't necessarily have a particular story that I want to share, but just a permission for wherever you are in your partnership, whether you're like, I'm here to be supportive, or like, we got to fix this now, or, any of it. Like, it's all welcome here. And I just hope that you guys all take away just either a new perspective, a new awareness, or a new practice from this time tonight. And so, yeah, with that, we'll go ahead and get started. More than anything, what has been beneficial in this journey is to get into my body. And that sounds very woo. It sounds very strange for a lot of people, but I, like so many people that I support and that I talk to day to day, are all up in their head. I'm thinking about this thing all the time. I'm worried about this thing all the time. I've thought through all the strategies. I was that person too. Preparing for the worst, always trying to figure things out. And so it wasn't until I really surrendered to deeper layers of healing in 2020 that I was like, oh, wait, there's the rest of me. There's, like, from the neck down. And so really, this is the basis of the work that we do with couples and individuals. Shannon and I will talk about our retreat later in the evening, but this is the basis of the work. Is, yes, we have lots of great tools, but we want to get you all individually and as a couple back into your body, because that is really where so many of these things that you want lie: peace, contentment, clarity, like love. It is within you. It's just been covered up by a variety of things. And so all of you have probably gotten from, social media or books or podcasts, a little smattering of nervous system regulation and upregulation and triggering and trauma responses and this, awareness of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And really in this opening practice that we're going to actually do together, none of that matters. None of these terms matter. It really, what I'm going to invite you into is to just experience what it is to be present with your breath and your body. And so, we're just going to do a really short 2 to 3 minute awareness practice. This you guys already may be feeling stuff in your system. Oh God, what is this crazy lady going to have me do? And I want you to know that also within all this work, we're going to meet you where you're at. So if that means that you feel fully comfortable being witnessed by all of us in just closing your eyes and breathing, do that. If you're someone that feels like I just want to turn my camera off briefly to do this practice, do that. If you want to have your eyes open for this, do that. But I would love for you all, if you're not already, like the Bennetts are like posted up, they're like full in surrender support system. So I love that. If you're not already in a supportive system or a supportive position, to get into that, whether it's in a chair like Shannon or I, or you're fully reclined back, I really just want you guys to get comfortable for just a minute. And that could be lying completely on the floor. It could be anything that feels supportive to your body. And like I said, as you get situated and comfortable, notice if you have more of an awareness around, it feels safe for me to keep my eyes open, but I'm going to fix my gaze on something in the room. Maybe it's a doorknob, maybe it's my left toe. Whatever it is, let your gaze rest on that, or have your eyes slowly close down, making any last adjustments, micro movements of your shoulder, uncrossing your legs, uncrossing your arms, maybe even having your palms facing up. And all I want you to do is breathe, just exactly how you were breathing 10 seconds ago, whether that's more in your chest, maybe it's some in your belly and some in your chest, whether it's in your nose, in your mouth, letting yourself be exactly where you're at in this moment in your breath. And maybe you're already noticing, my breath is really shallow. Just noticing. That's all we're doing in this practice. Maybe you notice the warmth of your breath on your upper lip. Again, just noticing. Maybe you're noticing a tension in your jaw or your hip or your lower back. Again, I just invite you to be a witness of that. Nothing to change, nothing to fix. There's nothing to do here, but be still and just notice. And if your mind is racing, that's okay too. See if you can let it all be there without judgment. You may notice that it's slowly getting easier for your awareness to come into your body and to notice more things in your body. So I invite you to now notice your breath and send your breath to your belly with your inhale, breathing in just a little bit deeper, noticing if that feels difficult, if there's any resistance. Maybe if your brain just has a hard time doing the thing of taking a deep breath. Breathing in deeply through your nose, expanding your belly and your chest, bringing that breath all the way to the top, wherever that is for you. Pausing, and then opening your mouth and exhaling out. We're going to do that 3 more times. Deep belly breath in through your nose, nice and slow. Pausing at the top. And this time I would love for you to hum as you're exhaling out. You're all muted. Notice the vibration and how that feels in your system. Inhale in again. On the exhale, humming out again. Extending that out, maybe just a second or 2 longer. Last breath in, biggest breath you've taken in all day through your nose or your mouth. Pausing at the top, and then again, ending with that last hum. And staying in this energy, this stillness, noticing if anything has shifted for you. Maybe you feel like you have more space. Maybe there's things popping up for you in your body. Just remaining curious. These things are here as messengers, as deep wisdom givers. And we get to just be here with them. So slowly you can bring yourself out of this practice by wiggling your toes, shifting your hips, rubbing your fingertips together, slowly bringing yourself back to your current reality, fluttering your eyes open, maybe looking around the room, slowly taking things in around you. If you kept your eyes open, slowly moving to another object in the room and then moving again. And that is the power of your breath, and it's the power of slowing. It's the power of including your senses in your lived experience. This is a very simple grounding practice that you can do at any time during the day. It helps with your sleep. It helps you gain clarity. But more than anything, it creates a baseline for you to be present with what's actually going on within. And it allows you to have this space of capacity for you to communicate with your partner in an entirely different way, and for you to take in information from your partner in an entirely different way. And
your kids.
Yeah, and your kids, exactly.
Yeah.
And so just notice that the power of just doing that for a couple minutes. Yeah, we could go so far and so deep into the power of what it is to be a part of somatic work, but really all you need to know is that you just experienced it, because you not only took in the components of your mind and your spirit, but also your body. And in marrying those 3 things together, you're able to really get in touch with your essence, with who you are and what you need and what you want, without all of the attached stuff. So yeah, now that we're in this more grounded, present state, this is where the tools really play a part. And this is where we get to come from a completely different space. So I'm excited for Shannon to talk a little bit about different communication tools, because a lot of you, that's why you came to this call. So many of your intake forms were, how do I create better communication? How do I have my husband actually hear me and see me and understand what I'm trying to say? So Shannon, go ahead and you can take things over. I'm excited.
Yeah, I know some of the things that you all put, there were similarities. And like a couple of people wrote, someone mentioned that they had desired a deep connection, not perfection. And that there was a misunderstanding with their partner, that they felt like they just want connection, not perfection. And that spoke to me, because I feel like in my experience with Steve, that was the thing too. I was asking things and he's like, am I expected to be perfect? No, not necessarily. Just wanted connection. And I didn't know how to communicate that. And then someone else said they were worried about their in-laws hijacking happiness, wanting to make my partner happy, but feeling inadequate. So again, just by being here, you know that you're moving the needle and you have this new awareness, things that you can do. And then also someone said, we both grew up where the holidays equals hurt. So it can be a sensitive topic. So again, going into, with what Amanda said, going into the holidays with prioritizing sleep where you need sleep, and then having grounding practices like these breathing exercises and noticing your senses, and even just going outside and taking your socks off and standing in the grass and just going outside and looking at the trees can be super helpful. And when you have the capacity to be fully present, that makes a huge difference when you are trying to communicate the things that you need from your partner, and just communicate, period. So in our experience, one of the things that we learned was from a book called Nonviolent Communication, which we have renamed Compassionate Communication. And one of the things that we talk about is really looking at, is something a reality or is something a belief? And I started to notice that the things that I thought was like, black and white, set in stone, this is what has to be, was just a belief that I had that was maybe handed down from my family. Take traditions. You can think about traditions that you have during the holidays where maybe your family has a certain tradition that you're like, that's weird, but okay. And you kind of adopt these different traditions, and it's not necessarily something that it's a belief. It's a value that you have together. So reality versus belief. When you think about reality can be something that you observe, and it is something that you notice. So it's not good or bad. It's just entering into a conversation with curiosity and really looking at the possibility for nuance in every experience that you have. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. It just is, and start to kind of be curious. And my background is working in the sexual health space. So for a lot of people, just trying to understand how their bodies work and realizing that there's a lot of shame and a lot of stories around sexuality, it's almost like you're coming into a marriage or into a partnership with baggage of like, what do you have in yours? Oh, well, I have that sex is a chore. Also, I have that it's for men only. Like those are all beliefs. And the reality is, science says, or I also believe that, that this is a way that we can connect. The reality is that, actually, it's really good for your heart rate. It does show that dopamine and serotonin are higher when you do have intimacy and sex with your partner. So really kind of parsing apart, like, there is no right or wrong. Let's look at what is true, what's not, and what that is versus what a belief is. And as we're going through this, if you all have any questions or things come up for you, we'd love to see some interaction in the chat as well. Now, one of the things that was very helpful for Steve and I was this idea of the story I'm telling myself. And the story I'm telling myself is often this inner dialogue that, that inner chatter that you're like, who is that in my mind telling me that I should be doing something or I shouldn't be doing something? And we joke, I teach mental health in schools, and we talk about not shoulding on yourself. Like, don't should on yourself, meaning saying that you should be doing this, because typically that's someone else saying that you should be doing this thing, and really leaning back and saying, okay, should I be working right now when I'm super exhausted, or should I be wrapping presents right now if it's 2 a.m. and I'd rather be fully present when my kids are opening the presents? Kind of looking at what the story is that you're telling yourself, and then as it relates to your partner. So for Steve and I, as we started to break down these communication tools and really look at, what was the way that we communicated was not working. We were making a lot of assumptions. We had a lot of beliefs. So we really had to speak out every experience that we had together. And the thing that we used a lot in the beginning was the story I'm telling myself. So if I felt, and this comes from the practice of the felt sense and understanding your body, if I felt like an urge of like resentment or frustration or reaction, I would pause and I would think, okay, what is the story I'm telling myself? And I remember one very clear memory of using this in the beginning. I would feel that come up and I just go, kind of take a breath, and kind of looked at Steve and I was like, okay, the story I'm telling myself is that you're frustrated because I didn't do the dishes and you woke up to a dirty sink, a sink full of dishes. And I know you like a clean kitchen in the morning. And he looked at me and he was like cleaning the dishes and he seemed kind of tense. And he looked at me and he was like, oh no, I just got a request from work that they need a turnaround on this project super quick. So I'm really just thinking about that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the story I'm telling myself was a huge help. And so noticing when something comes up, when you're feeling frustrated, maybe it's when you're around family members, you can pause and say, the story I'm telling myself. And it was really funny because we did a lot of breathing and a lot of the story I'm telling myself for like 6 months. And it was just changing that pattern. And then also noticing in your communication when you're using procabulary. So procabulary are the things that you want. Nonviolent communication is an example of a negation. That's something that we don't want. Like when you're saying like nonviolent communication, the wording on that is weird. So we changed it to compassionate communication. We want compassionate communication, right? So we want to think about the things that we want, not what we don't want. So when you're asking your partner, hey, can you help with the dishes? Or I don't want dirty dishes in the sink. That's not helpful. Sharing with them that I would love to wake up to a sink that is clean. Is it possible that you could help me with that this week since we have a lot going on? That's an example of procabulary. Some negations or like blanket statements would be, you always do this, you never do that. Everyone, those are like those blanket statements, but procabulary would be more of this, I notice, and this is what I'm asking for. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And then compassionate communication. I'm going to break this down on the next slide. I love this. Every judgment is a tragic expression of an unmet need. And that's Marshall Rosenberg, the person that wrote Nonviolent Communication. And he helps people in countries that are having a hard time getting along. He's helped, corporations with being able to communicate and help teams get along. And the book is really good and it's super helpful. And one of the main things that he breaks down is a compassionate communication script. And in the beginning, as you're learning these new tools, it can feel kind of funny and different, but that means that funny, different, you are stepping into a new space and you're growing and you're learning new tools. And Steve and I just went on our 3rd annual retreat. We go on our own little retreat by ourselves, and we have kind of a list of things that we go over. We want to celebrate the year before. We want to look at where we want to go in the next year. And one of the things that we noticed in this 3rd retreat that we've been on for the past 3 years was a lot of these things that we're learning, we have this intention of, okay, this is what we're going to lead with our heart. We're going to really share what we want, not what we don't want. We're going to observe and notice more than we criticize. And those kinds of tools have just become natural. And in the beginning, it felt like a toddler kind of like figuring out this new language. But ultimately, the thing that propelled us in continuing to motivate our wanting to change this, for us, our motivation was realizing that we were given a lot of scripts that were not compassionate. You know, our parents were doing the best that they could with what they had. And we realized a lot of our communication style, even though we swore we wouldn't do certain things that we learned from the modeled relationships that were in our life, there's a lot of great things that we've implemented into that, but there were things that we didn't want to carry on. And I remember thinking one time, like, gosh, I hope my kids figure out this stuff, and I hope they have a much better relationship than I do, in kind of this muted relationship that we had back in 2018 and 2019. And then I heard, okay, the best way to make that happen is to model that behavior, right? Because whatever we don't figure out is just going to get passed on to our kids. So hoping that your kids or the people around you have better relationships, your loved ones have better relationships, is not going to happen if you're not modeling that yourself. So the compassionate communication is a great script to kind of go by. You can screenshot this, you can fumble through it, you can laugh about it because it is kind of silly. This whole thing is silly. Like, we're going to talk about humor as something that you can rely on through this process of healing, because this whole life thing is hilarious. I mean, there's times where I'm like we have kids in competitive baseball, and I'm like, this whole scene is hilarious when people are having to get bags ready and have all this stuff, and everybody's in their little outfits. And I'm like, there's just some things that are so funny when you stop and think about it. So when you think about a compassionate communication script, there's these 4 things that make up the delivery. And it's observing reality. It's that noticing when I see or hear, and then how you feel, and then your needs, and then your request. So I've got an example, and you all can put some in the chat, because we would love to kind of break down some of the challenges that you may have. But here's one that I'm going to share with you. When you don't respond to me when I ask you a question, I feel lonely. Not, I feel, gosh, now it's hard for me to not think. I'll break it down and then I'll go back. But I feel lonely because I need your input. I value your input. I want to hear what you have to say. Would you please respond to me? And if you're not in the space to talk, can you just let me know, and we can like table it, come back to it? So asking, can you see where that versus like, I feel like you're ignoring me. That's what I was going to say. Ignoring is not a feeling that you have, right? Feelings, there are so many more feelings than we even realize. And that's a whole nother topic that we can get into. But feelings are anger, sad, frustrated, peeved, annoyed, agitated, sad, lonely. Those are all feelings. Yeah. And Steve said, asking if I'm in a space to talk has been a game changer. I used to be like, come on, let's get it figured out. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And then I realized, oh, he needs space. And so now he's like, I need space. I can't focus on this right now. Or I will say, hey, when I see that you haven't done the dishes, I feel frustrated. I need the dishes done before. I need to know if you'll be able to do the dishes so that I can make time to do it. Would you be willing to let me know if you can do the dishes tonight? And if he's like, I need a little bit of time to let you know. Is that okay? Yes, totally. It's all about a partnership, right? Yeah.
I would love to run you, because Shannon and I, one thing that we love to do now that we've done some of this work is improv and have fun, like she just said. And so what I would love to do, Shannon, if you're game for this, is Lauren put a really great example in the chat about the wife having certain expectations that were set at the beginning of the marriage, and then the husband continuously failing them. So I wonder, would you role play with me on what this may look like in everyday, how it is right now, and then us to, close that scene and then redo that with a compassionate communication script?
Yeah. Yeah.
Will you hold space as the husband?
Sure.
Okay. So this is the real life. This is what's playing on right now. Okay. Lauren, what's your husband's name again?
Cody.
Okay, cool. Okay.
And I hope
you're Cody now. Okay.
Okay.
So, Cody, I don't understand. I feel like that we have had this conversation over and over again. Like, we haven't been married that long. And I feel like we have talked about these things over and over and over again. Like, you said one thing and now we're doing a completely different thing. And I don't understand what the situation, like, what's the problem? Like, I don't understand.
What did I do?
What did you do? Cody, like, we've talked about this. We literally had a conversation last night about how we're going to take care of the kids. What are we talking about? Like, I don't understand. I literally don't understand right now.
Just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do.
Tell you what to, okay. I don't want to have to tell you what to do. I want you to know what I want you to do. Okay.
Amanda scares me.
I love this. Okay. So then if we were to take this again, using this script, this is how I would suggest, and notice Cody's potential difference in his energy as I bring a different script and a different energy to this. Okay. Cody, do you have a second to talk? Do you have a minute? Is this a good time?
Yeah. I got like 5 minutes before I need to get back to it. Yeah. What's up?
Okay. This is going to be a little bit difficult for me to say, so just have patience with me. But what I wanted to share, that I have been watching us have these conversations about different things in our marriage. And I'm feeling really confused because I felt like that we were on the same page when we got married, before we got married. And now what I'm feeling is like there's this disconnection between us, that you're going one way, it feels, and I'm noticing that maybe you're going one way and I'm going another. And what I really need is to feel like we're on the same team and that we're on the same page. And I'm really needing us to communicate more, and maybe in a different way, if that's helpful for you, because like, I want to feel connected to you. I want to feel like that we're on the same team. And so I'm wondering, is there a way in the future that we can talk more about these things that we're kind of disagreeing with and that we may be on different pages on? Like, is there a way that we can chat about that differently going forward? Are you open to like looking at that and seeing like how that feels, and that we can kind of come together?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So like that. Okay. So, and the thing that I want to,
yeah. When you say, are you open to, or can I invite you to, that feels so much better than we need to do this. You need to do this. I was mothering Steve. You need to do this. You need to do that. And that's not very sexy or intimate or partnership kind of feeling. So that, are you open to, is a big deal.
Yeah. And
Lauren says, bravo.
The biggest thing I want to note, have you guys notice in this, is the different energy. So like, if you're two people and you're communicating and the energy is kind of shifting one way or the other, when you come here, they will do this. It is very often that you will mirror whatever energy is brought to you. And then this obviously is not working for anyone, right? And so the biggest thing for David and I is, and again, with the woo, I'm trying to like bring down the communication, but it is true. Like when I'm able to come from a grounded and heart opened space, vulnerable, this is messy for me, this is really important to me, I'm really feeling confused and frustrated and sad about this. Like when you are opening up your heart, it's more likely that your partner is going to meet you in how can I help instead of this or this. So just noticing that and using that each and every time and letting it be messy, so that until this muscle gets flexed to where you're like, oh, this is just like how we communicate now.
Yeah. Lead with love for sure. So that grounding practice of like, okay, I'm compassionate. I know he's doing the best that he can with what he has. I know I'm doing the best that I can with what I have, but that is true when you leaned in and you're like, I'm curious, I have this question. I'm like, yeah, as opposed to the like leaning into it with this. And there have been times where I felt myself lean in, and Steve, you can weigh in. I don't know if he's still on here or not, but when I used to come at him, like leaning forward and being like, what is the deal? Let's fix this. Come on, let's go. And just taking a breath and just kind of leaning back and like, hey, I need your input on something. Can you share with me? Because inviting your partner to be like, for their input and asking for what you need and being able to meet your partner's needs, that's like such a great feeling to be able to step into that. Okay. Any other questions? Let's see. Liz and Nick said, we try to ask, do you want comfort or do you want solutions? Yes. So we have that too. Do you want to vent, or do you need suggestions, or do you need help fixing? And there are times where Steve has come to me and he said, I just need a vent. And I'm like, okay, I don't have enough space to hold that right now, but can we revisit that this evening? Because I do want to hear what you have to say. And also knowing that he's coming at me with the vent and not wanting me to fix it takes me off the hook of feeling like I need to come up with a solution. And Jennifer said the difference is a demanding energy. Yes. Jennifer, anything that you want to share? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but Jennifer and Hal have done a lot of work around this over the past year, and they have prioritized their most important business, their relationship to each other, and the transitions that they're going through. And it's been fun to see and hear the difference in their relationship and how they truly are working as a partnership now versus before they started implementing this work. So Jennifer, you don't have to share, but they've done some good stuff. The proof is in the pudding. If you all have any questions, ask Jennifer. The book on tape is great. The nonviolent communication, it is a good one. I listened to it on Audible. Yeah. All right. So compassionate communication. Any other questions? It's a great book.
Can I interject for a second?
Yes, please do.
Shannon Hamaker.
Yes, Steve Hamaker.
I will say for those listening who are either male partners in this group or you have a male partner who's not here, I will say this stuff does not come naturally at first. And I will be honest, it was really annoying at first, but it also helped save our marriage. Like literally over time, as I leaned into the discomfort of feeling these questions and this new way of talking to each other, it became almost second nature, like Shannon said. But like any good practice, that's exactly what it is practice, and it takes time. So men, be patient. This is a good thing, and it will come to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was also really hot once he started like asserting his needs. I would tell him, he'd like do the when you, I feel, and I'd be like, that is really hot when you do the whole compassionate communication thing and sharing your needs. Yes. So helpful.
Vulnerability is masculinity.
All right. How can we best use these tools if a conversation becomes angry or hostile? Great question. So we are going to talk about protectors, and Amanda, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah. The last thing I want to just add to the previous slide is male, female, wherever you're at, it may be helpful to you before you even start this practice with your partner, whether your partner's on this call or not, to journal that out, because some of you have no idea what you're feeling and you have no idea what you want besides something different, and something different isn't helpful. So for instance, we won't get into personality patterns and that's a different topic for another time, maybe at the retreat, if you choose to attend. But something that was impactful for David and I is that David David found difficulty in what are my needs, because my default is, what are your needs? What are your needs? What do you need? Because that makes me happy. So men, if you are one that tends to be that supportive partner to a fault, or women, if you feel like you have the need to fix always and to self-abandon, like check in and take that last slide and journal it out. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What do you need? What would that do for you? And then what would be your ask? So transitioning over into protectors, and this kind of goes into your question, iPad number 4. So we talked about, I opened you guys up with a grounding practice. I'd imagine that your body, you were feeling more calm, a little bit more safe. There was no apparent threat. What we talk about when we introduce protectors to a conversation is, when you are naturally about the world, it's very likely that you are not in danger. You are not in threat. We're not out in the wild. Like, you're just driving along, and then all of a sudden someone honks their horn. Oh my gosh. So that is the introduction to something that feels unsafe or new or unpredictable. A lot of times, some of these conversations, some of these habits that our partners have that we are exposed to throughout the day, they may feel disarming or unhelpful or even unsafe. And I want to talk about safety in regards to like a body response. You know that likely your partner is not going to harm you. However, having different behaviors may elevate your nervous system to a point where danger, I'm overwhelmed, danger, there's too much input. And so what sometimes happens is that we either consciously or subconsciously will use protectors to create safety within our system, to calm our system down. So these are the list of protectors that we often find people utilizing. And I would love for you guys to pop in the chat like ones that you see. So if you're feeling unsafe or your nervous system is stressed or tested, do you revert to, I'm going to go take a nap? Do you double down and say, I'm going to have some caffeine so I feel something different? Are you one that you're going to go and exercise? Are you one that will just sit and just do this action? No, I'm not going to talk about that. No, absolutely not. And so noticing that like there is nothing wrong there's nothing wrong with any of these protectors. That's what Shannon alluded to earlier, is this, we live in this society of duality where it's one thing or the other. We want to start to get you guys in the habit of it not having to be either, and it just being. So you're a storyteller because you feel the need to make sure everybody understands the point that you're making, and that everybody understands that you are the center of attention and that you are worthy of that attention and you're important. Cool. That is your body's way of saying, I'm here, I'm safe, make sure I'm not forgotten. Okay. Fidgeting of like, I don't like to be the center of attention, or I don't like for you to use those words with me, or I don't like for me to be doing something wrong. You know, any of these lists of protectors are literally just a way for your body to come back home to feeling like I'm in control. I'm in the driver's seat. And so many of you are, popping in the chat of what your protectors are. And what I want you to start doing is just noticing them. Just noticing them is and then equating to like, what just happened that facilitated that need to protect, and just use those as data points and be like, that's so interesting. I'm really curious about why my coworker coming to my cubicle and asking me all these questions created a lack of safety in my body. Why did I feel like I needed to storytell and cross my arms and maybe laugh inappropriately at what she was saying? So, and it's not really listed on here, but going back to whoever asked this question about the hostility, sometimes that is a protector in the form of a stress response. So we noted that earlier of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. My go-to protector was fight, was to get loud, get big for a variety of reasons, because that's what I learned. And so you, in these protectors, have to realize that if you are in a space where you're utilizing protectors, it's likely that you are not going to be able to articulate and tap into what is really happening for you and what you need in that moment. And so the invitation is to take space, to do something that's down regulatory, to maybe express that anger apart from the situation in a really healthy, grounded way. Those are some of the things that we teach couples and individuals of how to express that, because some of you guys have never been able to view that or be modeled that in a healthy way. And so the answer to that question really would be is to, hey, I'm feeling like my protectors are coming on. I'm feeling more sensations in my system. I need to take a minute. I know that we are in the middle of this. I really need to take some time and some space. Can we revisit this in an hour, tomorrow, after I go for a run? It's all about making space and checking back in. Perfect, Shannon. Yeah. Using down regulatory techniques like grounding, breathing, and utilizing sound. And that's really all we wanted to cover. There's a lot, again, to cover more on protectors, but we want to have you have this as a tool to basically give you feedback of like, oh, maybe I'm not noticing that I'm getting to a space where I'm feeling unsafe and the level of stress and my window of tolerance is slowly closing. So yeah,
I think projections is a big one too. I was the victim. It was other people doing the things to me. And then once I realized, oh, there is no villain if I'm not the victim. And I can feel so empowered when I take control of the situation and when I can sit with discomfort and I can sit in the messiness of being a human, and projecting my frustrations onto others wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
But I do like a good loaf of bread, Lauren. So
the last thing I want to just share on that last slide too is, and this was huge for me in my journey, of a lot of the behaviors that I had and the responses that I had to David was based purely on what was going on within me. So my learned response of being really critical of myself, expecting perfection, always being on the go, that, again, just like Shannon said, was a projection of what he had to do as well. So when I healed that within myself, I was able to release that expectation of him. And so I want to single out the ladies here for just a moment of like, notice again that this healing starts with you. Yes, you are a partnership, you are a couple, but so much of the transformation with both of you starts with even just one of you committing to your own healing and looking at those deeper layers.
I think we do have some non-binary couples that will be watching or are on now. And just speaking to when we have, a lot of us have been socialized, or we learned through culture that we behave a certain way when we identify as female. So in your relationships, there's masculine and feminine energy that can look different in every relationship. So I just wanted to be all inclusive in that aspect. So, okay. Tips and tricks. Here are some tangible tools that can be supportive as you move through this new season of the holidays with this awareness, understanding that you are able to downregulate your system and take responsibility for how you're showing up, leaving space for your partner. So some things that help with Steve and I, and the after, you all heard about the before, the 2019 version of our holiday gone awry. The upside version was the 2021, where we went up to see my family, and it was my grandfather's last Thanksgiving. And what could have been a very emotional, dysregulated, disconnected experience was the most beautiful. I'm forever grateful that we learned some of these tools so that I could spend that last Thanksgiving with my grandparents and to be fully present with my kids too. Like, they talked about that experience as being one, as they reflect a very, very pleasant experience for them, a wonderful time of like true Thanksgiving. And these were some of the things that we did. We, Steve and I set up the expectations. We looked at the schedule, making sure that leading up to this experience, we were going to be having enough sleep, a good place to sleep, not just on a mattress somewhere, an air mattress somewhere on the floor that's going to deflate in the middle of the night. And there were certain things that helped, like a code word. Code words for some people, I can't remember. We learned this from our friends James and Angela. I forget what their code word was, but they used a code word. We used a look. Now, there's something that we learned about making full eye contact with each other that is so powerful. So as you're communicating and you're moving through this experience, it can be helpful to do left eye to left eye, because it helps you focus on what you're looking at, first of all, but also it's over your heart space. So it's like twofold. It reminds you to speak from your heart, to love your partner where they're at, and it can be silly as well. So our left eye was like, if something was going on, like my mom is in the kitchen and something's being said, and I kind of like, get really frustrated. Steve would look at me and he'd go, hey, and he'd kind of do the left eye. We would pretend like we're doing left eye. And I'd be like, if I look up and I'm like, I got it, I'm good, then we're good. But if I'm like, I make the note of like, nope, I need your support out here. Or if the kids are fighting, whatever it is, have a code word, have your version of what a check-in is. And check-ins, in my coaching with couples, one of the big things is a weekly check-in. So if you don't already do one now, let me know. I can throw you our version of our check-in, but it goes over all of the things about, who's taking care of the kids this week, where do they need to be, what's the weather look like, when can we go out for a walk, when can we have I'm a huge proponent of scheduling sex, because it's way better than not having it at all. And for a lot of couples that are in the throes of having kids, the stars are not going to align, and you're not going to be, I hate to break it to you, it is a far-fetched idea that you're going to both want to have sex at the same time, and it's going to be incredible. But what we have found in working with the couples that I've worked with, and then our experience, is that when it's going to be at a certain time, you can have that time to prepare as if you were still dating, where you're in the shower, you're shaving your legs, you're taking time to brush your teeth, you're getting excited. Or maybe sometimes you're not excited, but still you have that time to connect. So check-ins are great to schedule all of those things first, because your relationship with your partner, with yourself, is most important. With your partner is the most important partnership that you have. And then quickies and hugs. Those are both great ways to downregulate. Quickies, for some people, they call them like maintenance sex. So quickies might be just a fun, like, hey, let's connect. It's been a minute. I know that we haven't had some time. Like, I just want to have that time with you. Let's plan a quickie when we can. And then hugs, a 6-second hug can, raise your dopamine, and it helps your serotonin. It's just this natural, wonderful thing. There's reasons why we have two arms that we can hold each other. Even if you're not a hugger, still that connection with someone can be helpful. So just taking a few deep breaths in the morning, every morning, even if you're in this awkward state of like, man, we really feel like we're on two islands right now. If you can commit to just having that 6-second hug every morning and leading with your heart, just like sending love to your partner for the day. I love you. Thinking that before you go off onto your own schedule. planning your connection time, and then humor. Again, this shit's funny. Like some of the stuff that goes on during the holidays, it's funny. And it can be funny when you see these old patterns of behavior or these things that are triggering to you, that moving into this holiday season, you're like, I got it. You know, Aunt Jane's going to be there. We've had our things, but I compassion, got it for her. We're going to be fine. And then she says something that just whoop, brings it right back up again. And next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe, wow, I'm feeling that feeling. Okay. Going out for a walk, going out to step outside for a quick breath of fresh air. And then values. As you're moving into this time, there can be a lot of expectations on where you're spending your time, who you're spending your time with. There's so many amazing things to do, especially if you have kids that you want, you know, different age kids, you want them to experience their own things. So something that can be helpful is really taking some time to look at what are your values. And that was something that Steve and I did this weekend. You know, the past couple of years have been compassion, gratitude, and health. Those were the things that we really wanted to focus on. And we looked at our values for this year. And shoot, Steve, do you remember what they are? I have them written in here somewhere, but we just changed them. So I'm going to write them on my mirror in dry erase marker, because what it helps me do is it helps me say yes to all the things that are aligned with that value. So for 1 year, it was experiences. So it was like 2 nights before Christmas. And I was looking at the presents that we had, and friends were talking about like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be up all night wrapping all these presents. And I had that moment of like, I'm a horrible mom. We have hardly any Christmas presents under the tree. I'm used to seeing like all these presents under the tree. And I started to go online, like who's got sales? What is it that we need? And then I was like, nope, experiences. That is our value. We decided experiences were our value. So we bought tickets to the Atlanta Braves. We bought, Steve took our youngest to Legoland. So we had more of those experiences. We got mountain bikes so we could go mountain biking. So really tapping into what are your values individually, and then what are your values as a family. And it's been helpful to share with our kids what our values are. Who knows if they remember at all? It doesn't matter. It still helps us say it out loud. And I think they'll probably remember it, you know, down the road when they're like, oh yeah, my parents would tell us, because they would ask, hey, can we get this new bat? It's like, well, what are your values? Health, baseball? Yeah, we can do that. Let's figure out how we can make that happen. So what are your values? Are there some, and this is not a like just throw it out there kind of time. Baseball bat, not flying rodent. Oh my gosh. Left eye to left eye is amazing. Oh yeah, that is so fun. Values as a couple, but also your own personal values. Yes. We would love to know your top 3. So Amanda's are balance, vulnerability, and authenticity. So these are your lighthouse. This shows you what you're working towards in your family. And there are a lot of things that are going to come up. And if you take a moment, feel into that, you know, take a few deep breaths and just kind of sit with that word. So vulnerability. Is that really important to me? And you don't want to have like 10 or 15 values, just 3 or 4 that are really key values that you can really focus on. Openness, optimism, peace, pleasure, stability, authenticity, love. Wonderful. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great on time.
So
it's time
good.
to wrap. Yeah.
Good.
Okay. So screenshot this if you haven't already. But another thing you can do is plan your date night. Put that in the meeting chat. When are you all going to have an hour set aside? So Steve and I, every Sunday, we have a cup of coffee. We have our check-in. There's times where we don't want to do it, but we do it and we're grateful we did. There's times where it's a 10-minute check-in because we don't have time. We've got to go on a baseball trip or something, or And then every now and then we'll have like a quarterly like check-in. How are we doing? Where it just ends up being us in like 3 cups of coffee, hanging out in the living room. And our kids know every Sunday that that's our time. So they can go have their tech time, whatever they want to do. And if they try to have a conversation, we're like, nope, we're doing our check-in. We'll be done in about an hour. Unless you're on fire or, you're hurt or something, you're good. Now I know some of you have young kids and that's a different story, but make that your sacred time. Okay.
Hey, Shannon,
Yeah.
can you touch on gratitude real quick on the check-in? Because I think that's an important piece of it.
Do you want to?
Sure. So one thing that I've really enjoyed about ours, and I'll be quick, but we usually start our check-in with what we're thankful for, what we're grateful for with each other. So like how we kind of go over the previous week, what went wrong, what went right, whatever. But really the main thing is just being thankful to your partner and show gratitude to what you're thankful for, what they did last week, whether it's hold space or they clean the dishes or wash the car, whatever. Just announcing that to them, left eye to left eye, and it'll really kind of set the tone for not just the check-in, but the entire week. It's been a really great part of our weekly check-in. So I would just encourage everyone to try that. You'll be amazed.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. It's such a great way to do that, to start with that gratitude. And it really encourages you to reflect on your week and the previous week. And we talk about what went well, what could go better. And then what are we going to do this week? What does this week look like? And we get real granular with the different parts of the relationship. Like the sex part is a big part of what I like to bring to light. I like to say that, the places that you've learned to fear the most, like your menstrual cycle or sex or even just marriage, like not really having much guidance or clarity on what works and what doesn't and how our bodies work. Those are the places that hold the most truth and the most wisdom and can help guide you in your everyday life. And it's incredible how this is played out in my confidence with my jobs. I say my jobs, I have a coaching business, and then I'm also a home buyer's representative, and I've worked in real estate before, and the emotions that come up in that experience and being able to say, okay, I know how to hold this, and I can also guide people through that and talking to them about their values. Like, where's your future house? How is it going to support whatever values you have? And then of course, with your kids too, if your kids are older, bring this up to them. What are your values? It's really helpful when they start throwing out stuff that they want to get. And for boy, his was baseball friends. And I don't even remember, family. That was the third one when we did this. We probably need to do this with him again for this year. And Jet was humor, fun. I don't remember the third one, the first time that we did it, but they would say, can we get this new toy, or can we go to this place? And it was like, well, what were your values again? Baseball? Oh, I could see where that would support your baseball. Yeah. Or humor. Yeah. That seems like that could be fun. That could add to your humor, just trying to have that conversation with them. All right. So I can't wait to hear how your check-in goes. So y'all want to hear about our retreat?
Yeah. So we are, as we have alluded to earlier, and if you follow us on social or get our emails, you probably have heard about this incredible up-leveling of Shannon and I's retreat offerings. And this is going to be an event like one that you have never been to. So it is February 1st through February 4th. That is a Thursday to a Sunday. We are calling in not 8 courageous couples. Actually, we only have 7 spots left. We have already had a couple that has committed, and yeah, this will be a 4-day retreat, Thursday dinner time to Sunday lunchtime. And it will be in this incredible 17,000 square foot McMansion in Franklin, Tennessee. And yeah, that's it. It is 13 bedrooms, all king and queen suites. We wanted this to be not only an incredible space for healing, but a space where you could just go and just be in the luxury that you are so desiring, like within, but we wanted to embody that experience in your external surroundings. So again, incredible spaces, the kitchen, this living room, each of your individual rooms with bathrooms, the pool, the area that we will hold space for a lot of our healing circles and the activities that we'll be doing. It's really going to be unlike anything that we have put on. And we realize that we know the power of the healing modality that we will take you through, but we wanted more couples to be a part of this. We have facilitated and been a part of retreats that have been men and women and just women. But we wanted, and we knew the power of our own relationship and what this work had done for myself and David, Shannon and Steve. And we know that there are both things that are true for couples out there of we're just okay and I want more, or we're falling apart and we just want stability. And so I saw something recently that every time I say it to myself, it just gives me goosebumps. And it is the magic that you are looking for is in the work that you are avoiding. And so for so long, yeah, let's just let that land actually, and I'll repeat it again. The magic that you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding. And so I just want to ask you, in wherever you're at, however you have arrived, either watching this live or the replay, like what is that work that you've been avoiding for whatever reason? Because you're afraid, because you don't know how, because you don't think it's possible, because it's never been modeled to you, because you feel like you're alone in it. It's still there, and it's still there for you to step into. And for me, I'm an all or nothing tend to be person, and I'm working on being in the gray. But this invitation for this retreat is more of a jumping into the deep end, a not toe dipping, not I'm going to read some books and I'm going to take a class and I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to, do some journaling prompts. Like this is a fully immersive experience where you will come out completely different individuals and completely different as a couple. This is an immersive experience that then will be the springboard for your future. And I mean, we have here the prices that paid in full is $3,000 before the early bird date ends, which the early bird date is December 15th. And then after that, paid in full will be $3,500 up until the retreat. And what I want to say to that, no matter what's coming up in your system, because what has really been powerful for me and all of the thousands of dollars that I myself and David and I collectively have poured into ourselves and our marriage is that this is transcendent work. This is an investment that not only will stay within the experience itself, but will ripple throughout years and potentially generations. And so I come from a very long line of generational dysfunction. And I knew within all parts of me, as they are lighting up right now, that I was not meant to continue the cycles that were. I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want that for my partner. I didn't want that for my children. And so I hope that you guys consider this as an experience for you all together and individually for 2024. And as it states on there, like we have payment plans available. We want to meet you where you're at. We want to continue to answer any questions that have come up during this time. But yeah, this is your invitation for more. That's why we called it the Restore for More retreat for couples. And so, yeah, is there anything else coming up for you, Shannon?
No, I loved I love that share. I
Yeah.
know that we do have some people on here that I've highlighted, like Holly and Jennifer and Hal and Nicole and Mike are on here, and they've experienced this work as well. So if you all want to weigh in vocally, if you want to hop on the camera, feel free, or if you just want to put whatever is coming up for you in the chat. But I think also you were saying the ripple effect on generations to come, but also wherever you are leading, like we're leading in our communities, and we are a part of communities, and we are a part of a a workplace. So to be able to emulate presence and groundedness and be able to live through your values and show up fully. Like, the reason why I keep doing this is being able to see people connect to their purpose and their heart, so that they can fully live to their fullest self. It's like I meet people now and I see it. I see how much they have to give and to grow. And I know that they were created to be this incredible human that people get to meet out on the street and interact with. And I see it and I feel the ripple effect, and I just want more of it. So that's why we're doing that. And I also want to point out that the name of the training method that we are in, so it's Amanda and I, Steve and David will be there as well. And then we have our friend who is a therapist from Seattle or from Washington, who's going to be flying in, Heather Pincelli, and she's incredible as well. We're all trained in the same facilitation method, and it's called TCS, which is training camp for the soul. And training camp for the soul really speaks to what it is, because it is like boot camp for your soul. It is this intensive, immersive experience that you can't paint a picture as to what it's going to look like for each person, because they get to experience it in their fullest being and their self. And we've had people that have asked before, is it a religious thing? Is there like a connection? And whatever you believe in, whoever you think is your creator, whoever is your person, or your, whatever you grew up believing, whatever you believe in, you will have that stronger connection to that belief.
Yeah.
I think that
I'd
makes
love to ask if the iPhone user wants to share more about sounding scary and it being a vulnerable moment. I would love to hold you in that if you are open to coming off mute and chatting.
Bye, Liz and Nick.
Bye, Liz.
And if anybody has questions, this is like a first that we finished early.
Yeah.
So iPhone user, do you want to share with us? It's much easier to avoid doing the work, but I recognize it's not where I want to exist.
Yeah.
That space of like, I know there's more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's me. I'm an iPhone user.
Oh,
Nicole.
hi, Nicole.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was an iPhone user. Yeah, my brain's exhausted today. Sorry. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. It sounds really scary, but it's not a place I want to continue to exist. So I want to put the work in and do those, but I wanted to be vulnerable and share that my central nervous system definitely activated when you talked about doing the work as couples. It is scary, but I want to move to a place of thriving.
Yeah. And what I want to speak to on that is, healing, and this was never meant to be something that you do alone. And that's also why we feel really called to create these experiences with community, because that's where we have gotten the most transformation and the most momentum on our journey, is when we lock arms and heal collectively. When we heal, the collective heals. So thank you for the share, Nicole.
Mm-hmm. And I want to share that even though we're in a group space together, the way the experience is going to look, we're going to talk about things like communication. We're going to talk about sex and intimacy. But everyone's going to be keeping their clothes on. Okay. So just want to put that out there. I know that when Steve and I went to our first couples retreat, we were like, okay, so if it's not like I've seen a ton of marriage retreats like advertised in Christian churches and stuff. And I was like, okay, if it's not that, is it the other opposite of the pendulum? Are we going to keep our clothes on? And it was this collective healing space of being able to witness others share and realizing that not only are you not alone in your thoughts and feelings and frustrations, but you as a couple are not alone. The challenges that you have are similar to other people and what they're moving through, and everybody's just trying to figure it out. And while we see these examples of like quote couples goals, they're trying to figure it out too. So it's a chance to let it kind of be messy and pick up the mess, burn it down a little bit, and then put back that foundation of trust and what your values are, understanding where you're going, and then being able to leave and move through the world with that new awareness and that new understanding that like I have these other couples that are doing the same thing and I can bring that to my community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
We'll offer it up for last questions, last comments, and then I would love to close this out.
And we'll be sending an email with the replay for people. And in that email, if you would like to have a call with Amanda or me, you can do that. Just respond and we'll hop on a call with you. Or if you have direct questions that you want to ask us, we're all about it. Anything else?
Yeah, anything. This is your last call, last chance to be seen and witnessed by this incredible group.
Is David still on here too?
He is. He's been tackling the kids in between.
Hi, David. Anything you want to share?
He's like, I'm silent observer.
Yeah, no, I think that you guys have hit a lot of really important things, but for everybody that's still on the call, the fact that you're here is a huge step in the direction you want to go. That's wherever you are in your marriage. I saw a lot of ones on the list of being married less than 5 years, and life would have been a lot easier if we had taken these steps 15 years ago or 10 years ago. And so good on you for being here and taking those steps in the right direction. And if you are 15 or 20 years in, good on you for taking the steps in the right direction. Anytime's a good time to take those steps. So,
yeah.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, babe. So we'll close out this circle. I would love for everyone to rub your hands together, just building some heat, maybe closing your eyes or having a soft gaze, bringing those hands to your heart space, feeling that weight, maybe even extending yourself some gratitude for showing up here, even in the stickiness and crunchiness and the unknown. Taking in a deep breath, letting your chest rise and fall, and just taking a moment to check in with what your next best step is for yourself and for your partnership. Knowing that whatever that is, there is no right and wrong. There is just what is. So we'll take one collective breath together in, filling up your belly and your chest, pausing at the top, and then exhaling out, closing out this incredible couples masterclass. Heading into the holiday season of 2023, Shannon and I are so grateful for you all. We're so excited for the future.
Yes. I know it speaks volumes that so many people wanted this information. So if you need help with that next best step, we're here for you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Nicole said, thank you. Dynamic duo. Bye, bye, Bennett. Bye, Holly. Oh my gosh, Holly, you look different.
Yeah, my camera's higher.